What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I have had this question come up for myself personally, as well as not a lot of people, but a few people have asked me this, so I thought, let's dive into it. So, based on clearly the title, do I have an eating disorder? Have I ever been diagnosed with an eating disorder? Do I feel like I have an eating disorder? Those questions. So, I personally... Okay, well, let's do the facts. So the facts are that I was controlling my eating in a way that became obsessive, and due to counting calories and macros, and then also it became disruptive to my relationships because based on what was available, affected my mood, which then affected whoever I was in contact with, who I was having a relationship with. And I feel like those are, I went to therapy specifically for my relationship to food, but at the same time I also was never diagnosed with any type of eating disorder. But does that mean I didn't have an eating disorder? I don't have an eating disorder? It's hard to really say. So for me personally, I don't feel like I have an eating disorder. For me, an eating disorder is somebody who is having trouble with their everyday life due to the way they view food and their body. But you could also, comparing it to alcohol, you could argue that some people are high functioning, yet they're also alcoholics. So could you be a high functioning person and also have an eating disorder? Of course. I feel 50-50. I feel like it's hard for me to say, yes, I have an eating disorder because I've never been diagnosed, and I don't want to take away people who struggle on a real health, everyday, in and out of treatment centers. And I think that way because I've been exposed to people who work in those in those facilities. So I always associate, well, you have an eating disorder, you go away, right? But that's also, institutionalized, and, that's also very white. So there's, a lot of other things going on there. Then there's this other side that's, a part of me that's well, I feel like I have disordered eating. I feel like I'm not somebody who can count macros and disassociate from them. I don't really know if I have an eating disorder. I relate more to having disordered eating, and I use the language binging because when I talk about binging, I'm talking about binging and restricting. So what I mean by that is having eaten a whole pizza one night and then the next day feeling so absolutely crappy about myself, I only want to eat salad and I need to go do cardio for an hour. That's what I mean by that. Or another example would be restricting calories for 6 days out of the week, and then the 7th day I just go all in and eat whatever the hell I want. So I don't know. What I will say is that not everybody who counts macros is in my situation that has this way of looking at their body. Some people are totally fine with it. What I have noticed, however, is that I feel like more people are not fine with it than people who are fine with it. And so you have to figure out who you are. One eating disorder that does is hidden within the fitness industry is something called orthorexia. And so this is an obsession with healthy foods, or orthorexia. It's about what you put in your body. So people become obsessed with clean eating, or not having fats, or not having carbs, or whatever. And they literally start to judge themselves and others, and it affects their everyday life. They have these different ways of viewing foods, and it's not always about nutrition, right? Everyone thinks clean eating is automatically healthy, and it's you can be clean eating and not be getting the correct nutrients. It's actually, studies have shown it's not as healthy as people think. So what I'm trying to say here is eating disorders are within the fitness community, the trans fitness community, the cis fitness community. Do I feel like I have an eating disorder? No. Do I feel like I suffer and fall under some umbrella terms within the eating disorder community? Yes. Do I feel like I'm still struggling with those things? And that's kind of the point of all of this, right? But I also want to say that the other thing that's like really hidden within the community is like fat phobia. And so fat phobia, I want people to remember, isn't about like seeing fat people and being like, you're ugly. That's not what fat phobia is. That's what most people think it is. It's actually like when you rate someone in a worthiness class due to the size of their body. And what I see more often is people being like, you're okay that way, beautiful, love you. But then they look in the mirror and they're like, oh my God, quarantine 15, I'm so fat and ugly now. And it's like, that's fat phobia, right? Like when you have a literal fear of gaining weight, because then in turn, you're gonna judge yourself the same way you judge those other people. And so, no, nothing is perfect. And that's the whole point of really figuring out where you fit. That's the whole point of me trying to figure out, where do I fit in fitness? I love to work out. I love working out. I love the sweat. I love the pump. I love, feeling strong in my body. My dysphoria really loves what it makes me, shapes my body to look. And I have become obsessive with looking perfect or trying to obtain something perfect or be shredded or whatever. That has developed a fear of like gaining weight or like looking a certain way, which then plays on my dysphoria of like having hips and not looking like square or whatever thing my brain thinks that I'm supposed to look like. And I'm trying to break that down, right? And I think that's what you should be trying to do too. Like, break that down. Like, what are you actually trying to look like? Who are you trying to be? Who actually are you, right? So yeah, those are my feelings. And it had some questions come up about it. I've thought about it myself. People have asked me if I identify that way, and I always feel on the fence. So I don't know, I'm curious, like, what do y'all think? I don't think anything will change either way. I'm on my journey of figuring out the disordered relationship I have with food, both mentally, emotionally, physically, educational. Like, I know so much about food. I'm starting to forget some of the things because I've been trying to, honestly, but I know so much about food and what's in food and what's good for you and what's not good for you and what's a good food and a bad food. And I put these around everything because it's arbitrary. Online, you can find studies. If you want to support what thought you have in your head, you can find that study, a study to prove it right on Google, and you can find a study to prove it wrong on Google. So you're kind of in this limbo of really having to figure out, what about me, right? Like, what about me? So that'd be the question I have to ask you. How are you doing? What's your relationship like? Do you suffer from eating disorder? Do you feel like maybe you kind of do like me, maybe not? I'm curious to know. Leave a comment below. If you like this video, hit the like button. Please share, subscribe. Also, it's super helpful to me if you're watching this video and you've made it this far and you're not subscribed. I really feel like you will enjoy the content that I put out. Turn your notifications on also so you know exactly when I've been posting videos. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.